Think about the most unusual reason for a war you can imagine. Got it? Now, let me tell you, it probably doesn't beat the pig war. Yes, you heard it right. A war, or rather a confrontation sparked by the death of a pig. This peculiar episode from the mid-19th century threatened to escalate into a full-blown military conflict between the United States and the British Empire. Let's set the stage. The Oregon Treaty of 1846 had just established the boundary between British North America and the United States along the 49th parallel. But it left the ownership of the San Juan Islands, nestled between Vancouver Island and the mainland of the Pacific Northwest, ambiguous. Both the British and Americans claimed sovereignty, resulting in a standoff that was as tense as it was unusual. This is where our unlikely protagonist enters the stage, a pig. In June 1859, an American farmer named Lyman Cutler found his garden under siege by a large black pig. This was not a new occurrence. This pig, belonging to the British Hudson's Bay Company, had developed a rather unfortunate fondness for Cutler's potatoes, and Cutler had had enough. In a fit of frustration and anger, Cutler did what he felt he had to do. He shot and killed the pig. Now you might think, surely this is a civil matter, a case for local law enforcement perhaps, but oh no, this pig's demise would echo through the halls of power on both sides of the Atlantic. The British, quite understandably, were not pleased and demanded compensation for the pig. Cutler, however, saw things differently. He argued that the pig was a repeat offender, trespassing on his land and feasting on his crops with impunity. He refused to pay. Things escalated quickly from there. The British threatened to arrest Cutler and the Americans called for military protection. This was no longer a simple dispute between a farmer and a pig owner. This was an international incident, a territorial dispute between two global powers, all over a pig. And what an escalation it was. The British sent 3 warships to the San Juan Islands, and the Americans responded by dispatching soldiers. At the height of the tension, the British had 5 warships with 70 guns and over 2,000 men. The Americans, meanwhile, had 461 men and 14 cannons, 2 global powers on the brink of war over a pig. The absurdity of the situation was not lost on anyone. A pig, an animal more commonly associated with farms and breakfast tables, was now the catalyst for a military standoff. But as we will see, even in the face of such absurdity, diplomacy and reason can still prevail. And so we find ourselves on the brink of a war incited by a pig. But even in the face of such a ridiculous standoff, sanity managed to prevail. Both the British and American governments, recognizing the absurdity of that situation, called for restraint. The British governor, James Douglas, was instructed to avoid any actions that could escalate the situation further. Similarly, the American authorities were advised to tread lightly to avoid sparking off a full-blown military conflict over a pig. Yes, a pig. As the weeks turned into months, the standoff continued, but the tension began to dissipate. There were no shots fired, no battles fought, and the pig, the unlikely protagonist of this tale, remained the only casualty. The San Juan Islands, the disputed territory at the heart of this conflict, remained peaceful, its tranquility undisturbed by the absurdity unfolding around it. Then, the breakthrough finally came. Both sides agreed to resolve their dispute through arbitration. The arbitrator, none other than the German emperor, was tasked with the unenviable job of deciding who would claim sovereignty over the San Juan Islands. The islands had become a symbol, a representation of the absurdity of the situation, and their fate lay in the hands of a third party. After careful consideration, the German emperor ruled in favor of the United States. The San Juan Islands officially became American territory. The British accepted the ruling, and the confrontation, which had lasted for more than a decade, finally came to an end. And thus, the Pig War ended not with a bang, but a whimper, or perhaps a squeal. The death of a pig had nearly caused a war, but in the end it served as a reminder of the absurdity of conflicts and the importance of peaceful resolution. So, the next time you're tending to your garden, keep an eye out for any pigs. Who knows what they might start?